Alright, so welcome to this simple demonstration on my MySql enumerator tool. This is a simple tool that's basically used to evaluate the overall security posture of your MySql database. Basically what it does is it will go into your database and pull out different information on it, such as schemas, tables, as well as information associated with those tables. So first things first, how we're going to install this tool. So you have to clone the repository and then it's all packaged up, so you can just do a simple pip install on it. So I'm going to go here. I already have the repository clone, so we're just going to run this command. And now it's installed. So going back here, we can look at the help documentation. So in order to run this tool, you're going to need three things. You're going to need the host name. That can just be the IP address or the host name if you have it, the username, and the password. Now you can use credentials with a variety of levels of privileges with this tool. If you use a set of credentials for an elevated user, you could potentially pull out even more information depending on what that user has access to. And as well as that, if you do have higher level credentials, you could potentially run this tool in its admin mode down here with the A flag, and that'll pull out even more information such as things about users, credentials, privileges, things of that sort. And then you can also run it in a table extraction mode, and how you do that is you provide a schema as well as a comma separated list of tables, and then it will go through and pull out the rows for each of those tables. You could also supply a port, but it defaults to 3306. That's what I have in my test database, so we're not going to need that, but we can go over that database right now. So this is what I set up. We have two schemas here: device management and security. And in security, we have login attempts and SLAs. And then in device management, we have devices and then apps associated with those devices. The exact contents of the database don't really matter for the purposes of this test, but just good to get a visual on how it looks like, just so we can cross-reference that with the results of our report. So going back to the code, now that we have the tool installed, get that out of the way, we can start running the tool. So first, the database, that's just localhost for us, and then we're going to start with a user with lower level credentials. So when we run this, it should generate a report for us. Oop, looks like I made a typo. Sorry, give me 1 second. Oh, I see what it did. There we go. Now it should work, and there it is. So, like we saw before, here's our first schema, device management, associated tables, and the columns, along with the data types. Then we have the same thing for the security schema right there. So let's say we pull out this information and we see a table or some information that we like, and we want more information on that. So what we can do is we can run the table extraction mode. So going back to that command, we first add the schema flag. So we want the device management schema. And then tables. So you can supply one or more tables. So comma separated list, let's pull out both tables. So apps and devices. And when you run that, it's going to run that command. And then it's going to export that information into an Excel file. It'll dump it out right here. These are the two, so it's named after the tables. And so I don't actually have Microsoft Office installed on this VM, so we can't actually look at them, but the information's fine. I verified it, it works. So yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, it's a pretty simple implementation right now. It basically just does a select all on those tables, but that can cause potential issues, especially if it's a very large table. Doing a very large query like that could potentially crash the database or cause other kinds of issues. So in the future, I plan on adding a little more functionality to that, potentially adding an option for limiting the query, or potentially the option to add custom queries to kind of both get around that and adding a little more flexibility to the tool. But we're just doing a simple implementation right now. So in addition to that, we have the admin function. So for this, we're going to supply admin credentials. So for that, we're just going to use root today. And you supply the admin flag. And this will get the tables like before, but in addition to that, it's pulled out information on the users. So we have some of the users here, we have the name of the users, authentication strings, and then we also have things like different privileges, whether or not the credentials are expired, things like that. And I'll print that out in the report, and it'll also export that out into an Excel file. So we can see that here, so you can review it later at your own leisure. So that's about all there is to the tool right now, but I plan on expanding upon the functionality of it, potentially doing things like adding the ability to run simple MySql exploits, like kind of how it's done in Metasploit. But if you have any suggestions on how I can improve upon the tool, I'm all ears. It's still in a very early stage, but yeah, that's about it for now. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a great day.